You know, honestly, I'm just focused on this right now, one thing at a time. Can't always just be moving on to the next. My focus is right here.
Caitlin Clark recently sparked speculation about her future in basketball, particularly regarding her potential involvement with the Unrivaled League, a new league owned by Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier.
You're trying to change the future of women's basketball forever with this new league that you're starting. Tell me about how Unrivaled has come together, and when you think about the concept, what does the future mean? Is this going to become the premier league for women's basketball?
About Unrivaled, it's going to be 3-on-3, 1-on-1, top 30 players. We're going to play 10 weeks in Miami during the W's off season, so we don't have a 7-week gap. And what's most exciting about it is it gives opportunities for players to play at home, not go overseas, build their brands, and make six figures.
Clark appeared happy and excited, which led many to believe she might be inclined to join the Unrivaled League. However, there are doubts about whether she truly needs to play in that league.
She didn't take her 5th year at Iowa. She wants to, try her game at the next level against the best players in the league. I don't really think it's a serious consideration for her to play there, but in the Big Three. But obviously, this gives a different kind of leverage.
As some believe that both Nike and the WNBA may prefer to keep her out of it, possibly offering her financial incentives to do so, as the risks associated with increased playing time could be a concern.
And again, we cannot understate the timing of this with the media rights deal being up next year, how she has completely driven eyeballs to the women's game this year, not only for Iowa games, but we've seen it across the women's college landscape. She is vitally important in a way that no other player in the women's game has ever been.
The Unrivaled League is structured around 3v03 basketball, which may not align with Clark's preferences, further suggesting she might decline their offer. Critics have raised doubts about the motivations behind the Unrivaled League, especially since its owners previously did not support Clark's inclusion in Team USA.
Whenever that was announced that the Big Three made an offer to her that was going to be like 5x whatever she was going to be making in the WNBA.
We are taking off. I think the thing that you touched on was first 30 players, top 30 of year one are going to have a piece of equity in this league. So as we continue on, hopefully it only gets bigger and better. And
this has led to questions about the authenticity of their current interest in her and her fans. While there is enthusiasm for women establishing their own league, there remains skepticism about its authenticity.
I think the pay is going to be like, it's the highest average salary in women's sports in history. So
how many years? How many years do we have money right now for the funding for it to be the highest average salary for women's?
So we have funding. We have funding for the next 3.
Let's go.
Clark's skills are considered more fitting for the WNBA, where she has already made a notable impact. Many in the community hope she will steer clear of the Universal League, as her standing and future in basketball are perceived to be more promising within the established framework.
And as far as playing overseas, I love my time in China and Russia. And I don't know if you guys know, the WNBA has prioritization now. So basically, if you're late because you play overseas, you'll be suspended the entire season.
Ooh. Shifting focus to Stephen Curry, he has solidified his role as a crucial player for Team USA after overcoming some initial challenges.
Did he do it and fail to do so in dramatic fashion? No, he did not, brother. This brother showed up. Steph Curry was absolutely, positively sensational. 12 points, all on threes, 4 threes in the last 2 minutes and 48 seconds of the championship game. It was beautiful seeing Carmelo Anthony and Draymond Green and those brothers courtside. It was beautiful seeing LeBron James, adopt the Steph Curry. It's bye-bye, night-night. This is what it is.
The semifinals against Serbia, he delivered a stellar performance, scoring 36 points, followed by 24 points in the gold medal match against France, including a critical 12 points in the fourth quarter, all from three-point range.
But for the guys who have titles, for someone like Steph, who this is the only thing missing from his resume, to have that moment, I believe it goes at the top of the list of his greatest moments, and I believe it is the most memorable sequence I've seen in basketball in my 50 years watching the sport. What do you think, Big Perk?
Hey, Greeny, when was the last time I ever told you I was proud of you? Okay, that list was perfection. That looked like one of my lists. I mean, from top to bottom. But when it comes down to Steph, hey, look, he may not come when you want him, but he's always on time. In those last 2 games, especially the one to seal it all against France, listen, that's Steph Curry at his finest. And look, people could argue on another day what position he will go down as. I still have him as the greatest point guard ever, right? Greatest point guard ever. I understand he changed the game and how the game is played.
His last three-pointer in that game was particularly memorable, showcasing his ability to perform under pressure and secure victory for his team.
With him being the greatest shooter of all time. But the fact that he had LeBron James and Steph Curry wide open on the opposite wing and shot that basketball over two defenders to seal the deal with his classic epic night-night go-to-sleep type thing. Hey, look, I tell you this, Greeny. You're right. That was one of Steph Curry's greatest moments of his NBA career.
Well, let's face it. In the entire history of the sport, he's the only person for whom that was a good shot, right? He's literally the only person that has ever lived for whom that was a good offensive sequence.
To recap, Curry's contributions totaled 60 points across these two critical games. It's intriguing to observe the change in public sentiment.
That in his mind, he wasn't going to play.
In that same game,
that's the problem.
That same game, doggy, they won the damn game by 26. You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous.
You got 40 minutes and 11 Hall of Famers. It's not that easy.
Fans who once viewed him with disdain are now rallying behind him, captivated by his ability to perform under pressure. The reactions from his teammates and the bench after that final three-pointer were priceless, showcasing a shift in dynamics. Even those who typically root against the Golden State Warriors or Curry himself are now appreciating his talent.
It was undeniable. LeBron was named the MVP. Curry had the biggest clutch shots at the tournament on their way to gold. Here's what LeBron said about playing with Curry. He said, quote, "I've seen it before in different uniforms, and it's good to be on his side. You just try to get stops, figure out ways on the other end, but keep finding him, keep getting him the ball."
One of the standout aspects of this scenario is the viewership statistics. The gold medal match attracted an average of 19.5 million viewers, marking the highest ratings for an Olympic basketball final since 1996 in Atlanta. While Warriors fans have long recognized Curry's exceptional skills, this moment has allowed a broader audience to witness the brilliance that has become a staple of his game throughout the season.
Now, I know he was struggling leading up to the semifinals against Serbia and ultimately the gold medal game against France. But when all was said and done, 17 for 27 from three-point range in the semifinals and the closeout game for the gold medal. That's 63% shooting for three-point range, y'all. I have told y'all on many occasions that Steph Curry is the greatest shooter that God has ever created. Okay, the greatest shooter that God ever created. A man that Steve Kerr should be thanking his lucky stars showed up and produced. I told y'all.
Additionally, seeing Steph, LeBron, and KD finally play together after all these years, perhaps for the last time, is significant, especially since LeBron has indicated that this will be his final Olympics.
But everyone's going to have their favorite. Everyone's going to, decide who their favorite is. But I know what I've brought to the table. I know what I bring to the table every single night, and what I can do out on this floor. So, I always feel like I'm the best to ever play this game, but, there's so many other great ones, and I'm happy to just be a part of their journey.
It's also unlikely that KD will participate in 2028, and Steph may also be nearing the end of his Olympic journey. It was quite a moment to see three of the most passionate fan bases in sports unite for the common goal of winning gold and proving their status as world champions. In the initial 4 Olympic Games, Stephen Curry recorded a modest total of 29 points, along with 10 rebounds and 8 assists. His three-point shooting was particularly underwhelming, hitting only 5 out of 20 attempts, which translates to 25%. However, in a remarkable turnaround during the semifinal and gold medal matches, he exploded for a combined 60 points, 36 in the semifinal and 24 in the final, all from three-point territory, where he shot an impressive 17 out of 26. This surge raised his overall three-point shooting percentage for the tournament from 25% to 48%. Throughout these games, Curry faced double teams while sharing the court with 3 other top 10 players, yet he still managed to excel. Notably, he was able to take shots even when Kevin Durant and LeBron James were open, showcasing his unique ability. Coach Steve Kerr made strategic adjustments to the offense to help Curry regain his rhythm, and during a crucial timeout, Curry himself suggested running a pick and roll with LeBron, which resulted in one of his key three-pointers against France.
Steph Curry was asleep all this whole tournament. He woke up today. We woke up today. Embiid, up and down a little bit. We need him at the end. He showed up. LeBron James, Kevin Durant. I mean, can I keep going? Can I keep going? So
these two final games underscored Curry's importance to the team. There had been discussions in the offseason about whether he was still at his peak, with some suggesting a focus on developing younger players instead of pursuing another championship. However, his recent performances have clearly demonstrated that he remains a formidable presence on the court.
A man that Steve Kerr should be thanking his lucky stars showed up and produced. I told y'all before the Olympics began, it's going to come down to the ability to shoot perimeter shots, particularly from three-point range. I got to give love to a few people. I got to give love to Joel Embiid, who showed up like a monster in the semifinal game against Jokic and Serbia with 19 points. I got to give love to Devin Booker, who was a model of consistency in these Olympic Games and the way that he played. I just got to give love where love is due, because it's important to point out Devin Booker, 58% shooting from the field, 59% shooting from three-point range, averaged 11.7 points a game in these series, okay? Of course, you see Kevin Durant right there.
In recent days and throughout the past couple of years, particularly during last season's FIBA Cup, it has become evident that Steve Kerr has been making strategic adjustments, especially with various lineup changes.
When he watched Team USA lose the bronze medal game last summer at the World Cup, LeBron James picked up his phone and started texting his peers. He knew they would have to come together and form a very strong team in Paris to take the gold home this summer. Germany had won the World Cup. Serbia had qualified for the Olympics and was bringing Nikola Jokic. The host nation of France was assembling their strongest team ever. Come together they did, the All-NBA players, the All-Stars, the MVPs, and put together an extremely formidable team for the Olympics.
From my viewpoint, if you have a franchise player capable of performing at a high level for another 3 or 4 seasons, it seems illogical to hesitate in building around him.
I just think it's one of those moments that we could put up there at the very top with some of those iconic over the past couple of generations.
Classic Curry heat check, right? Degree of difficulty was there, check. Stakes were at an all-time high. Anyone who's been following him through his career at Golden State, you've seen this time and time again on the biggest stage. He starts to get hot. They keep feeding him. I mean, with everyone on that court, Durant, LeBron, everyone capable of taking a shot, Booker, they kept looking for him despite the double teams. They encouraged the shot, and he kept drilling them.
Consider the approach taken by the Lakers. They traded away their young prospects to secure Anthony Davis, fully aware that this move would enhance their chances of winning a championship, which they ultimately achieved. They chose to prioritize acquiring a superstar rather than waiting for the development of players like Julius Randle, Josh Hart, and Lonzo Ball. While we now see the success of those players, it was uncertain at the time, and keeping them together would have required sacrifices that could have stunted their growth. The trade for Lauri Markkanen would have been a far better move for the Warriors. Many agree that Markkanen would fit seamlessly into the team, especially after Klay Thompson's departure. Conversely, the Lakers' trade for Russell Westbrook raised eyebrows, as it didn't seem to align with their needs, and the results on the court have confirmed those doubts. Reports indicate that the Warriors' final offer for Markkanen included Moses Moody and draft picks. This raises questions about their commitment to acquiring him. It's perplexing that they were willing to pursue Paul George more aggressively than Markkanen, who could arguably be seen as the more valuable asset. Some even argue that Jordan Poole has more potential than Markkanen, which begs the question of why they would consider a trade for him at all. As the offseason approached, expectations were high for the Warriors front office. Although I disagreed with their strategy of trading away young talent after 2022, in retrospect, it might have been a sensible choice since players like Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga weren't getting significant playing time anyway. This raises the question, what is their actual goal? In 2022, the Warriors faced a critical decision when they lost Gary Payton II due to their inability to offer him a competitive contract, primarily because they were hesitant to part ways with James Wiseman. Instead of re-signing Payton, who received a more lucrative offer from the Trailblazers, they kept Wiseman, who had shown potential in the preseason, but quickly returned to being the unrefined player fans were used to seeing. His limited playing time was reflected in one of the lowest plus-minus ratings on the squad. Ultimately, Wiseman was traded to the Pistons for a package of second-round picks, which the Warriors then used to bring back Payton. Reflecting on their options, the Warriors could have traded their second overall pick and the first-round pick from 2021, which turned into a lottery pick used to select Kuminga. They had the opportunity to send those picks to Minnesota for the first overall pick, potentially securing Anthony Edwards. However, given the front office's emphasis on acquiring a big man, it's likely they would have still opted for Wiseman anyway.